Hi, it's David from Life with Parkinson's. If you're new here, welcome. We hope you'll consider subscribing and also check out our website at lifewithparkinsons.ca for more information about this channel and our sponsors. To everybody else, thank you for letting me make all these episodes for you. I really appreciate taking this journey of Parkinson's disease together. You are very valued, and I look forward to this every week. Look at Kiwi. She's all big and puffed up. Oh, I know. Kiwi wants to say hi. Say hi, Kiwi. I know. Say hello, Kiwi. Yeah, I just wanted to mention that at certain parts of the video, I'm going to dig a little bit hard. So if there are some sensitive topics and you disagree with me or you want to pass on your feeling, please do so. But please remember, I'm not trying to target anybody specifically. I'm really just targeting myself. Right, Kiwi? Oh, I know. Bigger. This week's video is built off a quote by Zig Ziglar. He's a motivational speaker that my mom really likes, and I remember growing up with those books and tapes around the house. You know, when you used to get that big giant cassette tape box, like a book on tape? You know, today we just download them into our phones and stuff. But back when I was a kid, it was like a big plastic case with like a dozen tapes in it for one book. And I remember she would listen to them driving up and down the highway. It was a lot of fun. And so the quote by Zig Ziglar is, "Fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. The choice is yours." And I think that quote really illustrates today's video. We're going to look at three fears. Well, I've boiled down a bunch of myths about levodopa medication into three main fears. Can I trust it? Will it become ineffective? And will it make me sick? And those three fears really relate to the quote by Zig Ziglar, because we can either face those fears and try and rise above them, or those fears will cloud our judgment, unfortunately help us make bad decisions that just make our disease worse. If we let those fears conquer us, we will really miss out on a lot of good times. I've mentioned it before, and I'll mention it again. You know, sometimes I'm afraid of Parkinson's disease, and I think that's a good thing because fear is telling us something. Sometimes those fears are an illusion, they're illogical, and in my opinion, they cause us to make bad decisions. This movie isn't meant to target any of you. In fact, it's probably meant to target myself, because when I was going through this information and trying to find the best way to present it to you guys, I gotta be honest, this is the third recording. But I know when I get to like 3 or 4 recordings, I'm nearly done. I'm nearly done. It's Friday morning. This video is coming out tomorrow. So I hope you enjoy it. There's a lot of information packed in here, so let's get right at it. Okay, part 1. Can I trust levodopa? And when you start going down that path and you get that fixed in your mind, can I trust the #1 medication meant for Parkinson's disease? And levodopa carbidopa in the past has really gotten some bad image, or it picked up some bad reporting. And so when we go down that path of can I trust the medication, that kind of leads to, why is this doctor prescribing me this medication when I already distrust it? Now I'm starting to get a distrust of the doctor, and now I'm starting to get a distrust of the pharmaceutical company producing it. I got to tell you right here, I've looked at some studies. Oh yeah, and all the information that I've referenced for this video is in the description below. There are a number of references, studies, articles, a couple of videos. There's a video from my good YouTube friend, Jennifer at the Parkinson's Wiggles Project, who did a video like this a little while ago. I would suggest looking at her video as well. But to get back to the point is, where does this trust leave us? Some of the next little bit is my own opinion. But when we don't trust something, I think there's two things that we do. We either push it to the side and try not to think about it, and then just carry on with our lives as if nothing has happened. Well, we've been diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. Something has happened. I feel that sometimes we put our head in the sand and just let everything roll by. And like, I'll be okay with the medication. I can defer it as long as I want. In fact, I've read that if you defer taking the levodopa carbidopa, It'll be better for you in the long run. Oh, whoa, whoa. That is just like hitting a brick wall there, because there's some studies down below that I found, and I'll just put the web addresses on the screen here. There's some clinical studies done about this, about deferring your Parkinson's medication. Is that a wise decision? If you've gone down that road, or you know someone who's going down that road, you might want to pass these studies along, because the conclusions in both of them were very, very similar. The first one, titled Levodopa and the Progression of Parkinson's Disease, says that the clinical data suggest that levodopa either slows the progression of Parkinson's disease or has a prolonged effect on the symptoms of the disease. Well, that's good news. It slows down the disease. Now let's have a look at the next study. The clinical outcomes not only indicate that levodopa is effective in a dose-dependent manner in overcoming the signs and symptoms of PD, they also support the concept that the drug does not hasten the disease progression, but rather may slow down the rate of disease. The clinical data failed to demonstrate any evidence of levodopa worsening early PD. And then a third article, research paper, I had a look at by the Mayo Clinic, also said carbidopa-levodopa is a single drug crucial to optimum PD management. Deferring levodopa or limiting the dose confers no long-term benefit. I think knowing good information is very important, especially in the world of Parkinson's disease. Like, there are so many things coming in over and over and over again. Sometimes you got to be careful where you get your information. And I encourage you to check these studies. I encourage you to check what I'm saying. I think the biggest thing to take away from that Zig Ziglar quote in this part of the video is that we do have a choice. We do have a choice whether or not we want to face Parkinson's disease. I think when we don't face it, we put a bigger burden on those around us. Like, if we put our head in the sand and we concentrate on something else to just distract our attention away from the Parkinson's disease, it makes it harder on those who are trying to care for us. Please face this disease, because if you don't, the symptoms are going to progress, possibly, I don't know how fast. All they said was that the medication slows it down. And that's always seems to be the case. People just want to help you slow it down. And unfortunately, in my opinion, I've got bad news if you do that. The symptoms are progressing in the background. It's going to attack everything about you. We have to rise up and face that together as much as possible. You have to have your family and caregivers surround you and help you deal with this disease. Likely they're begging you to face it with them, because facing it alone is very lonely. The next part we're going to talk about, will levodopa-carbidopa become ineffective over time? Me personally, in my opinion, this is the greatest fear that I've seen out there, because this is one I've held since I was diagnosed with Parkinson's. I was told, David, the medication will be effective or last for around 8 to 10 years. And this is something Haley and I have concentrated on for a long time. Because, we're always talking about, we're getting close to that 8-year mark. And we're getting close to the 7-year mark this year in May. But we're getting close to that 8-year mark. And I've always been like, okay, what am I going to do? So I got to plan ahead for that 8-year mark. Or I got to get in for the deep brain stimulation, or there's nothing else. That's a big fear that I've been taught and that I've mentioned in a couple of videos. Apparently, my fear was not true. That is simply not the case. These studies have found, and these experts have found. The American Parkinson's Disease Association has an excellent article about this. I'm just going to read quickly what they wrote, because I think it's very important to hear this information. They say, in addition, as PD progresses, a person may start to develop more symptoms that are not responsive to levodopa. Levodopa best treats motor symptoms of PD, such as slowness, stiffness, and tremor. Some motor symptoms, including balance problems, do not respond as well to levodopa, regardless of when the medication is started. They go on to say that non-motor symptoms that do not respond well to levodopa include fatigue, depression, sleep problems, cognitive difficulties, variation in blood pressure, urinary problems, and constipation. And they finish it off with, the perception may be that over time levodopa is not effective, when in fact there are new symptoms that develop that levodopa cannot treat. So it's not that the levodopa loses its effectiveness, it's that it crashes head-on into symptoms that have developed over time, kind of like I always like to say, in the background. And this is why I think it's important for us, in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, this is why I think it's important for us to search out alternative treatments that the general medical system doesn't present to us. And I'm not saying that the general medical system is doing anything wrong. Here in British Columbia, the medical system is way backed up. There aren't enough neurologists, and my own neurologist has a waiting list, last I heard, of over 800 patients just waiting to see them. To put that much burden on one doctor and a nursing department is just massive. I don't know how they do it. You know, they need an applause, a thank you, taking all the time out of their life to do all that schooling to put themselves in that position to help people. But what I think that pushes back on us is a greater responsibility to find things that help us. And this is why Life with Parkinson's has Kiwi in the background, you can probably hear. That's why Life with Parkinson's has sought out sponsors and products to show you guys, because we feel that we need alternative treatments. We need alternative interventions that the general medical system isn't able to provide to us. Because when these symptoms kind of get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they progress more and more, because Parkinson's is a progressive neurodegenerative disease. It's never going to stop unless they find a cure. So we need to address our symptoms as best that we can. Okay, so the third fear or collection of myths that we're going to look at: will levodopa make me sick? Is it toxic? Will it speed up the progression of my disease? Should I look at alternative treatments such as mucuna, which is a natural dopamine derived from the velvet bean, to treat my Parkinson's instead? And all of these things make sense in the background, right? Okay, Dave just said we need to look for alternative treatments. And yes, I did. I know I'm kind of like double-crossing myself here. Let's start with the mucuna. Natural remedies seem like a good idea, and I've presented supplements in the past that I felt worked for me and helped my Parkinson's. But there are a couple things about mucuna that me personally, I don't like. And this is a comment I've gotten a lot on the channel: why don't you talk about mucuna? And I'm going to get to that right now. The first reason is not regulated by the FDA, so there aren't as many rigid rules that we as consumers can rely on to protect ourselves. So you might get one batch of mucuna that's stronger, and then you might get a batch that's weaker, right? There's not as much consistency there. The second reason is that it's only levodopa. There is no carbidopa. And carbidopa, I discovered through my research this week, is essential in levodopa therapy because it reduces the amount of levodopa required to help you. If we didn't have the carbidopa in there, it would cause us to take a lot more levodopa, which would increase the side effects greatly. So those are the main two reasons. Me personally, I don't really want to take mucuna. And if you are taking mucuna successfully, please leave a comment below in the video. Okay, the second part of this fear factor is that will levodopa make me sick? Will it make you sick? Let's see. There have been many studies over the last 30 years or so that have found that no, levodopa is not toxic to neurons, and it will not decrease our life expectancy. In fact, it's been proven to extend life expectancy. And this is from the American Parkinson's Disease Association as well, in their excellent article. And one more thing I just want to mention here is that I think a lot of this part of the video is about fear of the future, right? Will it make me sick in the long run? Am I going to die sooner because of it? Should I take something else because I'm worried about pharmaceutical companies being evil and stealing a lot of money from us? And you know what? Sometimes that really does feel like it's true. And I'm not going to jump up and take either side, but I think fear of the future plays a big impact on our lives. I remember being in high school and counselors coming around and saying, okay, you got to decide what you're going to do for the rest of your life. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing next week, let alone the rest of my life. How am I supposed to know where I'm going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years? And how do you reconcile that question now that we have Parkinson's? Where is Dave going to be in 5 years, 10 years, 25 years? Well, in 10 years, I hope I'm still walking. Right? So but I think having those goals, regardless of our illness, like casting aside those goals, seems to be the right thing to do, but then on the side, it feels like, yeah, I'm losing the will to live. Like a comment I got last week that was kind of earth shattering, and I understand the person was probably in a bad moment, and I've been there. Their comment was, why bother with this stuff at all, Dave? Why bother at all to fight for the future? Well, I know we're all going to die. That's a part of being born. But I just don't want to get there first. Like if I'm in a race with 5,000 other people to see who dies first, I want to come in last because I just got stuff I want to do. I still have things and goals that I want to complete in my life. And without those goals, doesn't this all just become empty and wasteful? Like we've got to do something while we're here. Why not make it enjoyable and have a good time and meet new people and just live life to the fullest, regardless of Parkinson's disease? Because if you didn't have Parkinson's disease, you'd still be worried about the future. You'd just be worried about something else. I'm just trying to find the right balance between the two, and that's really what I want to say. Okay, so Zig Ziglar said at the beginning, fear has two meanings: forget everything and run, or face everything and rise. And hopefully through this video presented enough information that we can all say, together we'll rise and support each other. So thank you for watching and supporting this channel. Please leave a comment or a question in the comments below. I look forward to reading them every week. And let's continue to take this journey together. Have a good day. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.